Hello. Can you
Hello.
hear me okay? Do I have an echo? Because I have not push to talk on.
You
I
sound okay, but I have no video.
Uh,
can see you
I
though.
see the video in the it's just on the side of my screen, and you sound fine. I hear no echo.
cool. Uh, yeah, so basically the way this class is gonna go is DM's gonna talk, and I'm probably just gonna sit here and paint and interject things. um, yeah, I've just what I'm painting is gonna be an illuminated letter, except without the gold leaf because I'm lazy. But you can watch me paint while we talk about scroll stuff.
Okay. One sec. I'm gonna turn myself off push to talk because um this is going to be irritating if I just have to keep. There we go. Uh, there we go. Okay. So hello. I am Diem. I am a master dragon, and most of my awards have been for either scroll making or my painting abilities. Um, and so I'm going to start with the basics of how do you, as a person, get a scroll, like do a scroll. Um, and scrolls are very, very common, like awards, and we give them out at every court, be it local or kingdom. And I think it's a really, really great way of like showing off your particular art style, and it can be adapted to so many mediums, which I think is just like wonderful. Um, and I know when I was starting out, my first big scroll was done. So I did two little scrolls that were non-noble titles when I was regent, and they got given out at my local court. And then my first big scroll was for my overbelt, uh, Saint Veta, and that was her Master Rose, and that was my first big scroll. Um, and if you're looking to get into scroll making, um, a good way to do that is to ask your local monarch for a scroll that they might be giving out at your local court, or ask your local monarch or the kingdom monarch to do a scroll for a close friend of yours or a belted family members that is going to be given out like in the future, if you know that there's a particular award that you want to do. um uh, like I find those are like advocating for yourself as a potential artist is a really good way, instead of, because I found for a while I was sitting around like wanting to do scrolls but not really advocating for myself, and I find that sometimes people get stuck in limbo. So make sure you advocate for yourself. um the next part, once you know who your scroll is going to be for and what award it is, there are a number of things to consider in like the concept planning. Like, so uh you have to consider what medium, um and what the person would like. Take for example, Gregor in Felfrost. He really likes unusual scrolls. He has a scroll made out of that has been painted on the bottom of a wooden box that's like removable. He we got he has a title on that's been etched into yeah, that's another scroll that Lisa's making for Gregor. It's a non-noble title. He has a scroll that's been etched into a piece of metal. And if you know something about the recipient and like what their likes and dislikes are, then you can tailor it specifically to them. I made Lisa her 10th dragon scroll specifically, and I put a two-headed raven on it because I know specifically that a two-headed raven is Lisa's heraldry. Um, so that getting to know a little bit about the person and what their likes and dislikes are can really help you with concept and what to put on um like for the content of your scroll. If you are like a 3D artist, um like it can help you figure out what like to sculpt, or what kind of mediums to use. For like, for example, someone that plays more of a druid might prefer something more nature themed, so you might want to be like use a lot more vines or nature imagery, um, whereas someone that um, liked armor or played more of a warrior, you might want to lean towards more um, swords and shields and like battle type imagery. And this is where like the and the more ideas you generate, um, I have like a sketchbook, and I just kind of like write stuff down, and I also pull up a Pinterest board, and I start like putting I sometimes if I'm thinking about it for a while, I'll stick a bunch of images that I like in a Pinterest board specifically for a scroll, and I'll like go through it, and it'll help me kind of like get ideas for like a composition. Um and and like I tend to lean towards painting a lot of portraits in my scrolls specifically, because I really really like doing portraiture, and I know that's what I'm good at. So I always recommend that if there's something specifically that you're really good at doing, um, try to incorporate that into your artwork. Um, for example, Lisa is like an amazing calligrapher. She's far better than me at calligraphy. And Lisa will often emphasize calligraphy as like a really nice part of her scrolls, because she's practiced that quite a bit. Um,
Yep. I spent most of, because that's what how I started scrolls, was literally just calligraphy. I didn't even know that you could add in fancy dancy stuff. Everybody just asked me to do, can you do your fancy writing? So I stuck with that and honed my skill. I still have a lot to learn though. But yeah.
yeah,
Now I'm like Diem. I do a we're kind of like very similar, which is why we do well in classes together. We both love portraiture and watercolor.
yeah.
So
Although we do like our styles are like very different. I tend to like uh I use ink to outline a lot of my detail work, because I find that I have a difficult time getting like as fine details in like smaller images as I would like out of the watercolor. So I find using kind of like the mixed mediums between ink and watercolor helps me kind of like really get a good um kind of more graphic image that I like. Whereas Lisa's just somehow able to get all the
I can
detail
give
in.
examples of that. Hold on, because it's perfectly personified in Amy's scroll,
Oh yeah.
which actually is getting, it got dismantled to get into a frame.
Oh,
So like
awesome.
it's perfect. Hold on, give me 1 second. 1 second. Because it's like so perfect. Anyway, we can touch on this in a second if you want to keep talking, and I'll grab the two.
Yeah. Um so like scrolls are like gifts. And they're rewards, and um really, I find that as like a scroll artist, I take a lot of pride in my work, and there's a lot of excitement I get personally for creating something that is an award. And if you haven't had the opportunity to make a scroll yet, I would I would very much recommend that you do it because it is a very fun experience making an award for someone. Um,
Okay, I don't want to put them on wet paint.
yeah,
So my camera is like really shitty, but like this is a great example because it's of the same person,
yeah,
but it's the two different watercolor type styles.
yeah. I put a bunch of gouache on mine, so you can't really see in the video, but there's a bunch of little tiny gouache pearls on mine,
Does it
which
go up?
is yeah. There you go. That's a little bit better.
Sorry, my webcam is crap.
Yeah.
And see, mine, do I have gouache on it? I do have a little bit of colored pencil for the blending, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But
Whereas
yeah.
I tend to like very heavily outline a lot of my stuff in ink.
And see, me, instead of doing the pens and stuff like that, I have brushes that are so this is one of the brushes that I use. That's how tiny that is. And that's not even my smallest brush. I'm using a pretty small brush right now because I have so many it's a tiny letter, like it's not that big. So
Yeah. So once you have your idea, once you know who it's for, and once you've kind of got like your concept, is where you start kind of designing what your scroll is going to look like. And I find it very important to do like a few rough sketches or thumbnails on a sketchbook just to make sure everything is going to all the elements are going to fit on the page how you like it. And I'm a very visual person, and I also did a bit of graphic design in college, so this is something that I was trained to do. But it just helps me kind of visualize where everything's going to go, because you're going to need like a body of text for like the award text. You're going to usually need like a block of space for like the actual title of the award, be it like a noble title or like a 10th order or a masterhood or something. And then if you're going to be putting a lot of imagery or background in it, you're also going to want to account for that space, and you want them all to fit together beautifully, instead of running out of room for your text, or like having someone's head fall off the page or something like that. Um, and so this is I find like composition is one of the trickiest parts in scroll making, because it requires a lot of thought and practice, and it's not something that is like often talked about. What do you have to say about composition, Faewellyn? Do you have any thoughts on it?
I do. There's a lot of so again, it's what Diem was saying. It depends on the type of scroll that you're doing, obviously. Um, but like traditionally, like laying out the wording and stuff like that. My way composition wise, I will always not always. Okay. When I do a traditional scroll, so like this, it would be a scroll, or the beginning of a scroll is the first letter of whatever the text is, which is also like a super hard part. I'm sure we'll get to that. I hate coming up with text for scrolls. So I ask the person awarding them to please do the text. But usually I'll have the first letter emphasized, and then the title that is being given out emphasized, and then the name of the person. So then that's what's shining through, because you really want to be able to see who's getting this award and what it is. Most of my stuff is usually justified down the middle, and I base it off of whatever sort of size. Honestly, for the most part, I'm thinking I should be buying the frames first and then doing the paintings, because I always do my paintings first and then it's impossible to find a frame.
Yeah, I have definitely learned to buy the frames first, and I usually get my frames at Value Village during non-pandemic times, um, because sometimes you can get weird sizes and stuff, but it is usually if I'm doing like a paper and like paint scroll, uh, sometimes the frame is going to be like the most expensive part of my scroll. Um, and it's important to plan for that. Most of my scroll work though isn't traditional. So I find that like my art takes up a lot more space than the text does. So that's like in my specific style of scroll work, I have to like be um I really I think my personal style tends to lean a lot towards like people and like a lot of like very organic um branches and leaves and vines. Have been seen a lot in my scroll work. I've also done a bunch of like very fluid like watercolor um like abstract watercolor stuff where you kind of have to plan out where the flow of the watercolor is going. Um, and with kind of more of like a modern style scroll, I like to plan out the movement of how your eye is going to go through the page.
Yep.
Um,
With composition specifically, I really tend to lead towards the S composition, or the
yeah,
backwards S composition, where all of the main points would kind of hit where the curves are on an S, um, or golden ratio, which is a little bit more intense, but
yeah. Um, Yeah, and like I also, yeah, I also have usually a hard time coming up with words for my scrolls. So my words tend to be like a pretty small block of words and then like a really fancy award title. And that's usually what I emphasize because I'm also not as great at calligraphy specifically. Um, so that's what I tend to emphasize. Um,
I do have to say, for any future monarchs and or people asking me to do awards, if you leave me to do the text, there will be heavy sarcasm or an inside joke always.
yeah, like there's like text that can be included. Like if I have to come up with text, sometimes I'll like look at poetry and stuff online that like encompasses an idea that that I want to be portrayed in the scroll. So I know I had to do like a bunch of Master Crown scrolls. Like I think I've done 3 of them at this point. And I remember looking up like poetry about like leadership and like kings or royalty and stuff just to get just to understand some of like the word imagery that they were using to kind of like take a word or like a phrase or two, not like steal the poetry, but like like there'll be like a nice like 2 words here and there that like sound a lot better than what I can come up with. And also if it's like a ladder award, sometimes it can be really nice to like subtly hint at things like I've found that like through like if it's a flame path kind of thing, you can kind of like use words like burn or like passion or flame, or like there's a lot of like fire or like fire related words that are also very descriptive that you can kind of throw in the scroll that kind of like is not trying not to be overly cheesy, can kind of like add to the theme of the scroll. And I've done that with like rose is really good because you can use blossoming like and like growth and like bloom and a lot of like kind of floral imagery. um and I'm not like a word I'm not very good at being like a word person, but these are like little tricks that I've pulled up to try and help myself get better at it. And I used to before the pandemic, and I haven't done this, but like all of my scrolls will usually end with it'll have like the person's name, and it'll be like the Kingdom of the Nine Blades. Yeah, it'll be like the Kingdom of the Nine Blades presents, and then it'll have like the name of the person with like the order of the smith, or like it'll have the word title there. So usually I'll put the kingdom in there too. Um, and so it's really interesting that I've noticed is that a lot of my old scrolls all have principality on it, but now my new scrolls have kingdom, which is a really cool like time thing, because now you can kind of tell when they were given out. I also used to like by my hand, like having a little section for the monarch to sign off on. We can't do that right now because the monarchs can't really sign off on the scrolls, but I used to like having that option.
So what I do too, because of the last year, that all the scrolls that I've done, or if it's, let's say, when we were under Rising Winds and we were giving out kingdom level awards, I'd actually have them just sign a white piece of paper with a black marker, and then I could print it out and trace it onto the scroll, which I did for a few things. Also because like some of my scrolls, like the one that I did for Craigor, I couldn't get like the box was already built, so they couldn't get to come and sign it because I was literally doing it. They're like, do the scroll 5 minutes before the stupid thing, and so I just had him send me a picture of his signature, and I just drew it myself on the box. Or like when I did Promethea's Spectre scroll, there's no way that I was gonna get the Kingdom Monarch to come and engrave some plexiglass. So I had them do that, and then I just engraved over the signature. So yeah, I'm really good at faking people's signatures. Scroll goals.
Yeah, I remember usually every time that Dylan is monarch and he wants me to, or I get him to sign something, he just has me sign it because he doesn't like his signature. I'll sign it for him. So another thing to keep in mind is scale. This is really important. When I am planning out a scroll, I usually tend to have things like lady scrolls or lord scrolls, or like kind of like low level noble titles, or like non-noble titles. Sometimes tenths like fall in around by like 8.5 by 12, kind of like around that size. Like, and then like gradually getting bigger as the awards get bigger. And this might not seem like a big thing when you're first starting out, but if as your amped guard career gets bigger, and if you're like looking to get more and more awards, um people might not have the space for a large amount of very large scrolls on their walls. And it's important to keep in mind to keep like your scroll within like a reasonable size for your intended recipient. It's a little bit different if you know them really well and you know that they are like they want like a very specific size or something. But if you don't, it's better to kind of like keep things like smaller, and then like usually knights titles are like quite large, but everything else I think I most of my like masterhood titles and um like sometimes my 10th orders and masterhoods I will usually work at about 14 by 11, um that size.
Yep, me too.
Yeah. um
I think this one is 14. The one I'm doing right now is 14 by 11.
yeah. um yeah. Like, and it's like this is not like set in stone, but it's like it's a good rough guideline based on like what people space have. um
Well, because sometimes people give out done scrolls for lower level awards, so like 7th or 6th or stuff like that. And if you think about it, that's 4 more awards that you're going to get. So if your 7th is 11 by 14 and then your 8th is 8 by 10, it doesn't look great. And then I don't know if it like makes it less. I don't know. I like it when it scales too.
yeah. um yeah, I
Oh, I
have.
don't have the chat open, so I can't even see if anybody's asking questions or what.
Oh yeah, sorry, I should be checking the chat.
Oh, yes, obviously. Well, then do something that deserves awards, Rajavia. Jesus.
Yeah. um
Currently, the one I'm doing right now, if anybody's interested, I just got gouache from for Christmas. So this is like a weird watercolor that I've never used before that I'm having a blast with.
how's
Side
it
note,
working
never ever do a brand new scroll with a new medium that you've never used before.
for?
You're gonna stress yourself out.
I have a set of gouache coming for Christmas as well, and I'm very excited about it. Um, if we're gonna talk uh, material costs, now the kingdom has a scroll fund specifically that we've raised money for to cover materials for scroll artists.
You say
Um,
we, it was you, completely you.
okay,
Don't be modest.
okay, there's an amount of money put aside in the kingdom treasury for scroll artists um that are looking to do scrolls for the kingdom, or that have been assigned scrolls by the kingdom, um but are having issues or that need help covering costs. And if that is a concern, there is money specifically for scrolls or master hoods. That also includes master hoods and like sashes for paragons and like other court items. Um yeah, gold. I've used gold leaf in exactly one scroll, and that was Roger's Master Crown, and I got it to work, but it wasn't as clean as I would like, and then I decided I wasn't going to use gold leaf. And that was that story.
Thanks for
Because I thought,
returning that, by the way.
yeah, Lisa lent me some gold leaf, and then I was like, I'm gonna do this because it's a master crown. So you want all the like the fancy gold leaf. Yeah, it is so messy, and I don't know. I couldn't get the edges clean, but I think it might have also been like the tooth of my paper might have been like because it was cold press. It might have been too or too much tooth on the paper. It might have needed to be a smoother paper for it to be a lot more clean.
Well, the
Um,
glue is super liquid, so it does absorb into the paper.
yeah,
So you might have needed just a few more layers.
yeah. I don't know, but like I outlined it with ink, and that kind of like hid the edges that were not clean, so that kind of fixed that problem. Um, I Lisa did use silver leaf for Admiral's Hardcore, right?
Yep, I've used gold leaf and silver leaf a bit actually, because I was all like, everybody needs a traditional scroll. I hate it, but I do it.
Yeah. So I don't know. You probably saw yesterday that I made a very untraditional scroll that was just basically Sarah's Paragon scroll was a game of love letter, and sometimes if you have a really great idea, uh, scrolls can be very unusual, and that works very well. And very specifically, like I altered an entire deck of love letter for Sarah's scroll because a lot of Sarah's color work involves her running games and stuff at events, and um, a specific Amped Guard esque board game seemed to be really fitting for like a Paragon title. But I'm sure that there are like plenty of things where like if you made like a custom item for like I think I've seen like custom items being given out like in addition to scroll work on like a box or something as like a gift instead of like a traditional scroll, and that's also something to consider too if you're not like a 2D person. um
Yeah, scrolls definitely don't have to just be 2D art, and I actually really love it when they're not and people go outside the box. One of it's funny, Sarah seems to be the recipient of everything. For Veda's, I don't even remember what scroll it was from. I did a mixed media one where I did my traditional scroll work, but the illuminated letter was actually a tiny little crocheted like goblin bear that was like this big, and I used like a lace hook to do it. Can't even, I don't even think I have a picture of that. And then I just watercolored like the actual, not medical, but like textbook of a potato plant to go with my style, but also her style.
yeah. There's lots of like and this is why like kind of like the concept and like thought process behind a scroll can be like really important, is coming up with like those, taking a while to come up with like a really good idea, um which is like why it's really great if a monarch gives you more than a week to do a scroll.
Yes.
um
If
no,
you know a scroll is being given out, immediately get an artist, like within the next 2 days if you can. Because the more time an artist has to work on the scroll, the better the scroll is going to be.
okay, to be fair, I have done some of my best work like the night before a, an event, but um, you know, like I do believe a happier artist works without a whole bunch of time constraints. So
I'm saying that, but truth be told, I've literally always done my scrolls in the last like half an hour before I leave for an event or whatever. I do a lot of thinking,
yeah,
but actually putting them into practice. So, like, as soon as you ask me for a scroll, I'm thinking about it, and I'm probably going to still be thinking about it until I put pen to paper or whatever medium I'm doing. But I honestly, concept wise, pen to paper is usually within the last week.
yeah.
I am a
Um,
procrastinator. Don't do that.
I I've procrastinated sometimes, but I usually like to have all of my stuff done at least a week before the event,
Which is the
just in
better
case
way.
something. Yeah.
Yours is definitely the better way.
Well, also, like I have learned that the week before an event, I have been called on sometimes to make last minute stuff, and I like having like just being like free to be able to like help out wherever I
Oh,
can.
I've been doing scrolls at an event at a table for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. No, and it's really funny, like seeing like being at an event and seeing like a person huddled in the corner with a bunch of art supplies, and you just know that they're working on a scroll for court, because they have that look.
It's me. It's always me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Now I get tagged, and that was like 10 minutes ago. Yes,
Yeah.
yours was it wasn't silver, it was specifically mirror. So then it was shiny enough to see your reflection. It's actually, I have it somewhere because I only used it for yours. It's literally never been used on another scroll ever.
So, for my mediums specifically, a lot of my scroll work has been like watercolor paper, so cold press watercolor paper, um, and then watercolors. I'll use white gouache for accents, and then India ink with a calligraphy pen for details. And I use 100% cotton paper, Arches 100% cotton paper, because it behaves so much better than regular watercolor paper, but it is very expensive. So,
So I'm a broke like mom. I can't afford all those fancy dancy things. So you should know if you're getting my scroll, it's not Arches paper.
yeah, like I only can afford it because I specifically ask for it for gifts, and I ask for one per year, and usually one pad of paper per year. At Christmas time, like gets me through scroll making for the whole year. So,
Do I even have the cover still on this one? I don't even have the cover. Oh wait, yes I do. Okay, here's the this is what I normally use. Because I really enjoy this paper. It's Fabriano, which is still a really good brand, and actually they make a higher brand than the one that I have here. This is like kind of the student brand, and I use hot press, which is different. It's very smooth. It's almost like poster board, and it's
yeah.
only 25% cotton.
Yeah, get as high as the highest amount of cotton content you possibly can. I also have switched to hot press watercolor paper, but I haven't started using it yet. So that's going to be interesting. And the difference between hot press and cold press is that cold press has like a heavier tooth to the paper, and it's like more absorbent, and it'll absorb like the watercolor better. But yeah, hot press is finer, and if you're putting ink and calligraphy pens on it, the fibers won't get caught as easily in like your nibs and stuff. So it can be better for that. Yep.
Yep. Cuz I use colored pencils, I really like the hot press. It does still work on cold press. Nibs do work on cold press. I have used cold press just to get the watercolor texture. I used cold press for Amy's. Yes, I used cold press for Amy's Paragon Anti-Paladin. Cuz you were using cold press.
Yep.
Because we needed it to match.
Yeah.
That's always fun. I wonder if we're the only, like, how many other people do you know that do scrolls together as like a joint effort? Because I'd never been asked about that before you, and now I'm doing one more with another person.
I've seen like, so I follow SCA scroll stuff, and I've seen like scroll stuff. It's very common in SCA stuff for someone to do like the illustration and someone to do the calligraphy in SCA scroll work, but I haven't seen it done in AmpGuard. very
It's like
often.
a comic book because there's an anchor and there's a
Yeah.
colorist, all that kind of stuff. I was just painting in the middle of my letter so you could see what it actually was, but I can still see on my camera. You can't see what it is. It's supposed to be an eye.
Oh, okay.
It will be an eye eventually. There's an outline around it too. So
Yeah, I can very faintly see it.
this webcam is crap, and I feel like if I want to do classes, I need to get a better setup. And a Tyler.
Yeah. I also have this thing where like I really hate reproducing heraldries on my scroll work. This is just like
Aw,
this is a personal beef that I
thank you
have.
for doing my heraldry on my scroll then. My goodness.
No, but yours was just like I painted like an actual lifelike bird. It wasn't just like a shield with your birds stamped on it. Like,
Oh, I see. As
you
an
know,
exact representate, yes.
yes, and I have made only one exception. Well, technically it's two exceptions for like the heraldry thing, which was Dylan's Lord Commander and Lord Paramount scrolls, because I put the Game of Thrones heraldries on there for that. But I find sometimes I personally have difficulties working the just the very flat shield heraldry into like a non-static composition.
Yeah, so since my composition, just as a complete opposite, my composition is pretty static for the most part. I tend to stick with the same kind of, again, middle justification. I can usually, what I'll do is I'll end up putting the shields down either in the corner or along the side, almost like in the border. And yep, I love to torture myself, and I will literally paint everybody's heraldry and also the kingdom's heraldry and whatever in like the size of a quarter because I'm ridiculous. Do, 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 do.
Yeah, I find like a lot of traditional scroll work is just like we'll have a lot of like the shields, and I just, because my scroll work isn't traditional, it just like it doesn't, like, if I feel it doesn't fit very well. Yes, Rajavia, I follow a bunch of SCA boards because I find like the artisans in the SCA are like fantastic, and it gives me like all the art inspiration. So I always pretend that I'm from that particular kingdom. I don't know how to pronounce it because they always ask when they ask me in the Facebook group to enter it. So
The pronunciation is the Kingdom of Eldamir.
Eldermere. Yeah. So I snoop a bunch of SEA boards for art because it's cool.
Ouch.
Yeah, like I would say it's definitely like a personal choice whether to include someone's heraldry or the kingdom heraldry on it. Some people like really like that, and some people really appreciate having like the heraldries on it. I'm also just like I really don't like reproducing stuff, and I find it like really tedious. So I don't like doing that. And so you won't find it on my scrolls. But some people are a lot better at it than me, like Lisa. So Lisa can do that. If you want someone to reproduce your heraldry, ask Lisa, not me.
I mean, says the person who literally raised all the money by reproducing and making heraldries for people
Yeah.
digitally. So
Oh, that's okay. That's digital art. That's different. I will do it digitally.
driving me nuts here. I'm trying to figure out what my light source is, and I don't like it. I don't like it. But it's okay. This isn't a scroll for anybody specifically. It's just me illuminating letters for examples.
Oh, yeah, I guess something to keep in mind also is like transportation. Um, I right now I have like at least 5 different scrolls in my apartment that are not mine, that are like just here in limbo until like I can get them out to someone, because like they have been framed and I'm not shipping like a big frame out because it's just gonna get broken, right? So like, but also um like if I was to transport a scroll from here to bot D, you want to make sure that like you like I always have like a bunch of towels or blankets, or it's like all like always like wrapped up like really carefully like on the very top of like all of my gear when I'm out, when I when I'm traveling. You want to be really really careful. And I have had a couple incidents where like the frame has broken at an event or something, and it's always just like such a sad day when the frame breaks at an event or on the way to an event. Or you have to present a scroll that has no glass because the glass broke. That's so sad.
I usually I do the same thing, but I carry it, or I make my passenger carry it, because usually I'm driving somebody, so they owe it to me. You little booger. No, you can't paint. Go away. Oh, I didn't make her happy. She's pissed. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Now I lost where I was going. Yeah, is there any questions? Do y'all have questions? Because I like questions, because questions I can answer.
Even though you don't like making text or anything like that, how would you suggest going about it? Or like going about learning calligraphy and that sort of thing? When I made my first and only scroll for Garrett's Paragon Wizard, I basically just like drew them with pencil and then used a super tiny brush to paint them, paint each individual letter, and it took ages.
So what I've done for like a lot of my like fancier text is I oh yeah, okay. This is really cool because I've found some tools that are really really helpful. So usually for my small text, I try and do really fine like little block printing. But if I wanted to do something fancier, I have downloaded an app on my phone, and I don't know if it's installed on my phone, but there's 1,000 free fonts online, and I usually will look up a font that like I want to replicate onto the scroll. Be it like traditional calligraphy has very specific ways of how you're supposed to draw out stuff or whatever, and that takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill to develop that art. But if you want to cheat, you could just draw it out, right? So I'll find a free font online, and I found um, a an app on my phone that would like um, basically you could type out like a phrase or something, and it would show that font. So if it was like, you know, Master Dragon or whatever, it would type out Master Dragon in that font, and then I would like, you know, draw that out from the text I see on my phone onto the scroll in like um in pencil first, and then I would usually do it in um ink, because I mainly do it in ink. Sometimes if you're going to be doing it more in acrylic, then you'd have to do it, or like oil or whatever, you'd have to do it in those mediums. Um Sometimes also I'll just freehand a font because I have enough experience doing like big fancy fonts that I can freehand a big fancy kind of loose font and it'll look fine. Um, but it's not traditional calligraphy. It doesn't look like my fonts don't look like traditional calligraphy.
So hold on, I'm gonna grab just a piece of paper and a calligraphy pen. Actually, you don't even need a calligraphy pen. You can do this with a Crayola pen. Anything that has a small part and a fat part. Hold on. I'm gonna put this somewhere where my cat won't step on it because he's being annoying as crap. Doo-doo-doo. There we go. I also do this with brushes, whatever. There's a basic theory to all calligraphy to make it super easy. What's this one? That one's not bad. Okay. So basically, you can write anything and make it look like some kind of calligraphy, so it's not traditional, or sorry, that looks traditional. I'm just gonna pop up my thing here. Doop doop doop. Okay. I'm trying to think. So like, we'll do Simdree's name. So basically, the theory to calligraphy is all of your downstrokes. Oh, this pen is crap. All of your downstrokes are thick. All of your upstrokes are thin. So no matter what you write, if you keep that in mind, it's gonna look like calligraphy. So like, let's say we'll write Whipsy. So you start with the little tail. That's going up. That's going to be thin. Down will be thick. Up will be thin. Down, up. And that already looks like calligraphy because, and you can make it bubbly or rounded. But it will always look like calligraphy if the downstrokes are thick and the upstrokes are thin. A lot of things that calligraphy, to make them all fancy, that's just, you can literally do that with a Crayola. I don't have a Crayola marker with me. I just have my calligraphy pen, which I carry around with me. But there's little tricks to just like writing, like, how do I spell your name? Oh my goodness. So, up. So the thing with calligraphy, or at least traditional calligraphy, is it's not written how you think it is. It's not written the way that you learn in school. Everything has like 1, 2, 3 strokes. And eventually, yeah, it's literally like, you even see that? Oh, it's backwards. It's probably backwards on my camera, isn't it?
Nope, it's forwards. You're good.
Is it? Nice.
Yep.
So yeah, that's just me literally writing. Obviously, it's way better. Always put your lines down and you can just write on them. But it's literally, most things have like a first stroke, second stroke, third stroke, or like the S is the weird one. It actually has like, you start with the back and then the front, and then you start and connect them. That's how you do S's. It's really weird. Or like E's is like when you just do an E the way you're writing. An actual calligraphy E is like you're doing the downstroke, downstroke, connect. It's literally just practice. You're gonna get like if you just write in calligraphy, honestly, everybody's gonna comment on your writing for the rest of your life. So just be prepared for that. But if you just write in calligraphy, just regular old everyday, just write yourself notes in calligraphy, you're going to eventually get amazingly fast. That's like, I don't have any real tricks to calligraphy other than like the down up thing. And then anything, if you want to make anything fancy, add these stupid little tails to it or lines. And then suddenly it's
Yeah,
very
I always love
fancy.
the little diamonds, adding little diamonds everywhere.
Yeah. So that's what, with a calligraphy marker, it's literally all, that's the shape of a calligraphy marker, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Diamond.
exactly.
So then if you're doing it with a paintbrush, you have to draw in all those little bitty diamonds because your paintbrush doesn't, unless it's a flat brush. I've done calligraphy with like the squared flat paintbrushes. They're really annoying because they don't hold a lot of paint. So you have to keep dipping back in. But
Yeah, I don't have a calligraphy marker. The thing is, like, I have a whole set of calligraphy pens just because my mom was an art major and we still have a whole ton of stuff. But calligraphy pens are a much steeper learning curve, I've found, than like an actual chisel tip.
are they the ones with the like the replaceable nibs? Like you can change out the nibs and stuff to them?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are specific calligraphy. They're not necessarily like, so this is oh, my brain is not
Black
working.
letter.
Parallel.
Oh, okay.
So that's a specifically like a marker. This marker is mirroring a parallel pen as opposed to a calligraphy pen. Like again, I wish I should really get Crayola markers because they're very similar in the way that they work. I don't know if my brush tip, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that, it's gray. Ugh. And I think my gold Sharpie is out. Oh no, it's not. Okay. So yeah, with the basically the way nibs work is the harder you press, the thicker the line. And I'm not sure if, is it an actual pen or is it a dip pen?
They're dip pens. So these calligraphy pens are like nibs and then you dip them in like an inkwell.
Okay, so there's actually a trick to keep you going with a faster flow than actually having an inkwell. You might already know this, but I have brushes specifically for that. So instead of dipping your calligraphy pen into the well, you have a paintbrush in one hand and your marker in the other, or your whatchamacallit, your pen in the other. So you're dipping this because this will hold more ink. So it's a paintbrush. It's just like a regular old, I don't know what you call that. It's like a round brush, pencil brush
Yep.
kind of thing. So you dip that. This will hold more ink than your pen, and then you won't over ink it. So you just literally rub the tip on there and keep going. Rub the tip on there and keep going. And that will, honestly, your workflow will be a lot better because I find that when you specifically dip into inkwells, most people don't know the amount to dip and it's really hard to get it. Like most people don't actually use dip pens the way that they're supposed to, or the way that they originally were, because it gets so much ink on the nib that it just splatters like everywhere, or you create pools, or, and it also depends on which nib you're using. There's so many nibs. Like you could have been possibly using like not a calligraphy nib. There's oh, what is it called? I'm really bad at the names for right now and I can't remember what it is. But it's like the really thin fancy one. So you wouldn't be
Plate?
able to get this. Do you
Is it
remember what
copper
that's
plate?
called?
Copper plate?
Yeah, that's it. Copper plate. Thank you. Copper
Yeah,
plate.
I actually have a whole little box of nibs. So some of them are proper calligraphy nibs and other ones are more fine. And I
Yeah.
actually didn't know the trick about the paintbrush. I got to a point where I knew the exact amount to put in the inkwell, which took me so long. And now I feel like that was a waste of time because that's so much easier. I love it. I'm so excited.
I find you waste a lot less ink that way too. But yeah, copper plate is the one that I haven't gotten to it yet. I want to. I want to do it. It's the one that has it's the one that's very fancy.
Yeah,
Like
it's like
that.
the wedding
And there's like a
registry.
ton of little doopy doos
Yeah.
all over the place. And it's got a weird flow to it that I just can't
Yeah.
wrap my brain around.
Yeah, I have a ton of nibs that can do that, but I'm definitely nowhere near the stage of being able to do that.
Well, this is like, yeah, it's all just
Yeah.
literally learning. And calligraphy pens, specifically like the actual real calligraphy pens, are all about pressure. And you can totally get around. Where's the, like, I have a great pen.
I really like most of my calligraphy style like nibs and stuff just for drawing and inking out my drawings. because I really like the look, that specific look um for them. Like I think partially because of my graphic design background, I really like more modern looking texts too. And that's where like a lot of like my like preference for text background comes from. Um, which is why I really haven't delved much into proper calligraphy.
I don't even think this one has ink. Oh, it sort of does. It did have yellow ink at one point. I think it's dried out. This is like when you go to chapters after Christmas and they have those stupid calligraphy sets. That's what this is. That's what fancy dancy pens that you can get anywhere. But this is like your basic this is your basic calligraphy nib that is universal. And the thing is with these, they're so easy to screw up and like break that I don't use them. Because if you push too hard and the tines like get separated permanently, it's done. Like they're not expensive, but like it's so I like my parallel pens. I can't find one. They were made.
Yeah,
like,
if I weren't working on a project right now, I would totally show you what I have, but maybe another time.
I know what you have. Like I have a feeling I have that downstairs. This is actually this one. I love showing off this one. This is my favorite pen ever. It's a Pentel Brush Pen. Um, and it does everything. Oh my god. This is my fancy dancy. Oh my god, I love this pen. It doesn't look like much. It's $20. But it's like it's just my I've done so much calligraphy for AmpGuard with this that it's got the like you can do thick, thin, and it's like a paintbrush and a marker. And it's one of the only brush pens that you can get where it's actually a brush. So like this if I fuck it up, this will separate into bristles, but you can also put it back. But like it's one of the most expensive pens, and it's the best thing that I got out of my college thing. You can ink like in ink drawings, you can do calligraphy, all that fancy dancy stuff that is really popular now. It's like the bubble letters. I'm really bad at it.
Oh yeah, like those inspirational quote fonts that are everywhere.
Yeah. Which is it's good that they're getting everywhere because then everybody wants to do the writing, which means the pens are more readily available and cheaper. Because normally you used to have to go get the Pentel ones that were like $5, $10 a piece, and now you can get them for like $2. I don't know what all of my markers are. I have them somewhere. Oh god.
I'm just going to interject right here that if people have not signed in for attendance, please do so.
Yeah, we're
And
fine.
I'm not going to wrap up this class at all. You guys are having a great time, but for those who want to watch Wronglier, it will be streaming on Carolyn's new Twitch soon.
Oh yeah, no. As soon as they're ready for Wronglier, like we could talk for hours. Like honestly.
Yeah, I've just started the whole adventure into scroll making, so this is really, really informative for me. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to see any like new scroll artists come out, because I found like I also find that like doing scrolls is like really motivational, because like there's like usually very set time limits on like, you know, this like it has to be done by like this date, so it like is a really good uh like it like helps you really set goals for your art, like because there are hard and fast deadlines, and you don't want people to be like disappointed. So, and like as someone that has like a hard time keeping and sticking to personal like deadlines or like goals, having like a more concrete deadline is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. When making the first scroll I did for my brother, I was freaking out like half the time because I had 12 ideas, I think, fully sketched out. I hated them all. And I started painting and hated what I had made, and then just like redid the whole thing twice, and then finally ended up with something I liked. And it was on like the last day I had available that I put down like the last brushstroke.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
See, it's just like it's practice. Eventually, you're just gonna be able to like whip it out.
I can't draw worth crap. So all the stuff I make is usually done first on the computer, and then I trace it.
So a lot of people start that way. I find that honestly, just grab a calligraphy pen and learn calligraphy. It's so much easier than painting them all like for me to do. Sorry, I'm just gonna. For me to do like this in painting and tracing it, it's gonna because I'm gonna
Oh my
bucket
god,
the
it looks so
details.
good.
Like that line took me forever, whereas like I just hold my calligraphy nib the right way and it takes me 3 seconds.
Oh my god, it looks so amazing. Man, I spent like 3 days on just the letters because I had drawn them with pencil and then painted them with a tiny little paintbrush.
Yeah, I got no video, so I can't. I got no screen. The video doesn't show up for me. I got a
Oof.
black square. That's what I got.
Sorry, I don't know how to fix it.
I don't know either. I did done one scroll once before. Let me see if I can
I
find
was
it.
gonna say I have. I wonder if I can even link. Can you link a Pinterest like somewhere?
Oh
I
no.
have an entire Pinterest board of calligraphy fonts that and scroll
For
work
sure, a link.
that I, if I'm even signed in on this computer. Hold on, I know I have it on my phone. Ugh.
Yep, you should definitely be able to share a link. That would be pretty easy.
Mhm.
So I tend to like I'll just go through because I'll be like I am looking for specifically a nice letter S. I want S. So I will look up and grab like every S letter that I can find that I like, and then I use elements of it that I like.
Long time ago. Whoops. Where is it?
Random stuff.
Looking back at Brawl pictures, they make me emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pictures from demos that we did.
Okay, so I specifically have two because, like, oh, I have a calligraphy one, yeah. So the stuff that I'm working on, or that I was working on at the beginning of the class, is called like filigree scroll work. So that's been my obsession for the last year. So I have an entire board based on that too. How do I share?
You'll probably have to stop sharing like your video, and then in your stream options, it'll ask if you want to share your share your screen.
Oh yeah, I could totally do that too. I
That
was
would
just
work
going to
too,
share the
yeah.
link so then you could, if you wanted to, go look at my like if you had, if you have Pinterest, you can just follow my board.
I do, and I can just do that thing.
Okay, hold on. Let me just get to where I can do it. So is it a copy link? Copy
Ah, more field pictures making me nostalgic.
Yes. Good scrolls make people cry. I wish one day to make people cry with my art. That's the
So-
goal.
My big goal, honestly, just because it's one of the things that I do is portraiture, is for when they post the scroll on Facebook, the face recognition software goes off. I know that Bonnie's does that one. Bonnie's face recognizes her as her. So
I think I'm getting there.
okay. See? There we go. There's one. And then if you're ever interested in the
I know I posted it somewhere. Bloody hell. I wish my computer hadn't crashed last winter. Then I wouldn't have lost all these damn pictures. I have to rely on Facebook to find them all again.
I think you actually have the font that I copied for my first scroll on here.
Probably. I have a very like I don't know what you would even call it. I have a certain aesthetic. If you flip through my board, you'll see. I have a very like gothic square aesthetic when it comes to like fonts that I like.
Yeah. Like I find my fonts will, or like the typefaces that I choose will vary very drastically depending on the specific scroll and the specific scroll aesthetic.
Dang it. They didn't post it to Facebook. Shit. Oh, crud. Well, oh well. Womp womp womp.
Oh my goodness. I've been working since like, I don't know, 10 a.m. and I've got one of 2 pages that I need done for my art class finished. Oh, ouch.
That's because the fabulous people here are distracting you.
Oh.
No, I've been doing the art consistently whilst listening and doing the things. It's all been good. It's just that the thing I decided to do, of course, was time consuming and maybe a little bit more than was necessarily necessary. I purposefully finished all of the text I needed yesterday, so I don't need to like write anything. I've just been drawing while listening in, so it's not a huge distraction. At least all the text for the first page, which I think is probably why the second page hasn't been finished.
Yeah, my phone works better. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So those are like the two ones that I do the things. Most of the time that will get added to when I start a new scroll. Chances are I find something else I want and we'll put it on there.
Well,
A lot of my
officially
Pinterest
following.
boards are hidden because they were specifically for people. And I'll have made them while I was working on stuff, so they'll be private.
So it looks like Wronglier has started streaming. So I am going to kind of juggle both sides. But I just want to, before I close attendance, say thank you very much to Diem and to thank you to Faewellyn. And please, by all means, if you guys want to keep talking scroll work and calligraphy, please do. I mean, this is certainly not a get out. I mean, you know.
I am going to switch to Wronglier, so I am going to be shifting over.
Yeah, normally I just fight with Morden, so I tend to really enjoy Wronglear.
Yeah, I'm good to end right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who's been here today and for actually making this event.
I don't know how long I'll be. It takes more photographs to the studio.
Okay, bye, Mom.
So yeah, so you and Charles.
Sorry about the echoing. I just also wanted to say thank you for the lesson.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if you guys ever have
where
any
do
questions, we're here.
where do I go for Wronglear again?
Twitch.
Yes.
It's Carolyn's new Twitch page, so there's a link for it.
Much appreciated, because I probably would have ended up in the wrong place.
I found a couple of interesting scrolls, but not the one I was actually looking for. That's okay. Oh well. Couldn't find the one else. I'll have to get her to take a picture of it and send it to me. I have it.